Lieutenant General, yourself and General Tema, both of your medical procedures were done by Dr. Pert.
Dr. Pert, yes.
Do you know, may her soul rest in peace, do you know Dr. Pert's husband?
Unfortunately, I don't. I didn't have a personal relationship with her to that far.
Dr. Pert's husband is an ANC regional secretary in Tshwane called George Machila. So now it's important that people at your level, especially with your training, appreciate the company they keep, because it comes back to bite you.
True.
And especially a female lieutenant general who has worked so hard to be where you are, gets to be destroyed by association with lunatics. Because if we were to look for a female general of the police, commissioner of the police, I think you stand a very good chance. But it is these nuances that are going to cause a serious problem. And people who know how you guys get trained, especially on intelligence and counterintelligence, there is no way. Because when I met Matlala for the first time, I couldn't miss him. I didn't know him. And I asked someone, who's this guy? And they explained to me, this is so and so. Later they said he wants to greet me. I said, no, I don't want. And that has been my stance throughout.
Respond. I actually want to stand up. People have been dying to see this BBL. They were expecting Tebogo Tobejane, you know, Faith in Ketsi. And I must say, Chair, I've actually had more guys approaching me now over the phone to say, can we go out? So I think everybody wants to test drive. I wouldn't mind standing. BBL. I wouldn't. That's become a national asset, so it must be seen. Before I respond to the question, I'm not sure if you see it, it's there, but I don't see it. Thank you very much.
Actually, one DM of the police showed me your picture and said, what is BBL here?
Exactly my point. But I think, Chairperson, on a serious note now on this particular matter, you said it's paragraph 120, no?
From paragraph 120 of your statement, and the question is, did Mr. Matlala pay for a Brazilian butt lift for you?
Yeah, and I must read this because it was for me a sore point in my career that I could just be taken so low after working so hard to be where I am with my integrity intact up until that moment when somebody thought under oath he could just get away with it. I wish to submit to this committee that it is rather gravely unfortunate that I have to respond to this. And for me, I must say, Mr. Matlala, the cybercrime, you can actually, what do you call them? Competencies. You can trace the money that I paid for my procedures. And I've given all of those statements as evidence to the evidence leaders. It's available for the committee to see, from my credit card to my check card to Dr. Pert, who actually did my procedures. I'm not shy, honorable members, to say I take care of myself. Being a police officer doesn't mean that you can just give up and people see us. We've got young women who must look at us as leaders, that actually I can do the job. We model the badge. So if I had to do this for myself, honorable.
Let me start now as well. I just wanted to find out the clarity on these matters, and thanks for the clarification. And I hope that in the future others will know exactly what is happening within the police force. The police service, there's no more force. When did you first become aware of this allegation by Lieutenant General Mchunu regarding the interference in the organized crime investigations, and what immediate step did you take upon learning of them, if any?
On that 6th of July briefing that he had, it was the first time that I got to learn about those allegations. And I also wish to submit that at the time, I had reservations that probably could have been done differently. But I think upon realizing and also seeing what is coming out of this, I actually saw an opportunity for the organization to redefine itself. I can imagine if it didn't happen, where would we be right now? You know, so if maybe, I normally say to people that the badge, which is the police badge, decides who to kick out. And I think in this process, my analogy was probably the badge got tired of the rod and the moment had come that we begin to purify the organization.
So you reckon that the ocean cleans itself?
I beg your pardon?
You reckon that the ocean will cleanse itself?
I don't think so. I think it requires people who can go in and begin to remove the child.
Agree with what General Mkhwanazi did on the 6th of July by exposing all these issues and raising them, you know, for the nation to understand the problem which we are encountering as a country.
I would say, as a person who didn't know, now that I know and I've seen, I think I would agree with what she did.
Now, as an acting Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detention, do you confirm that the units which investigates crime ultimately fall under your operational oversight? The organized crime units, they ultimately fall under your operational oversight.
Yes,
Do you agree on that?
I agree.
Now, are you happy with what is happening in that, in organized crime units?
Can I also talk about organized crime in general within the law enforcement, including DPCI? I don't think we have actually scratched the surface. Yes, we do have takedowns, we do have successes, but in my view, we are not dealing with the people whom we would call in organized crime high flyers, the people who can't explain their income, the people who can't explain their assets. Many a times we will deal with the low-level people. I think that's why we are not necessarily succeeding in neutralizing organized crime. General Mkhwanazi,
I just want your evidence of your opinion on this one.
General Mkhwanazi gave out allegations, and I think it is up to the investigating arms who are responsible, have been tasked with this particular matter, to be able then to sift what is factual and what remains allegations. But beyond that, I cannot make an informed opinion.
Are you satisfied that the current command structure within crime detection has protected investigation from political or any internal interference?
I think for me, until we actually conduct maybe a climate assessment, understanding the impact this has had on policing, then we can actually dissect the areas affected, and then we can see if some of the insulation has been compromised. Only then can we then say we can be able to heal what has happened.
The Sabaya accusation that you weren't taking the PKTT disbandment seriously, speak to that. What is he on about?
In my view, and I think it will also show with the others, General Sibiya, within crime detection, wanted all of us to actually walk with him this journey. And I think that there was an instant where he even said to me, and I think I've got WhatsApps that I removed, where he said he knows now where I stand. So you are working with a person constantly who doubted you, who didn't trust you. So for me to be able to move forward, I was sticking to process and I was saying something else to him. And that's for me, as I said, it was part of my operational tradecraft handling of General Sibiya to be able to walk through. Because if you listen to what he said versus the process, you would see that actually there is a disjuncture there.
Because there's been many allegations of widespread interference in SAPS and other institutions within the criminal justice system. You earlier said that there's this narrative that you are either here or there. in terms, and I think we were speaking about factions at the time, and sitting here day and night, it seems to, or at least for myself, that there's a glaring split.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I correctly captured you just earlier on. You said that there are no factions. I just want to hear, are there factions or are there no factions? Just categorically, so I hear you clearly.
Okay. I have not observed any factions in the police.
So there are no factions.
I've observed people in conflict, which will then spill over to other people. I'm not sure if that you define as a faction.
Yes, you know, General, I think I asked this because I think it's very important. Because if there is a split, these are individuals that are causing the splits.
Yes.
Are they just for personal gain? Because there can be no ethical justification by splitting SAPS into camps and divisions. Do you believe that SAPS has been infiltrated or improperly influenced by any individual or organizations? And I want to clarify, I mean any individual, whether it be Cat Matlala, whether it be ministers, whether it be ex-ministers, whether it be politicians.
When I look at the police, I look at it like I look at supply chain, where supply chain tenders would drive people's relationship with service providers. In the police, the dockets and other environments like supply chain would attract wrong people to people who are in power. So for that reason, I do believe that there is a possibility of infiltration, maybe the scope of which we'll then have to further investigate.
General, you're very high up in SAPS. Are you, you're very high up in SAPS.
Yes.
I mean, you're not on the street. You are a very a senior officer. Are you saying you just think, in your belief, do you think the NPA or IDAC has been compromised in any way?
Again, it is based on what we hear. I have worked with IDAC, I have worked with the NPA, and in my tenure, I've not come across such incidents where I would feel uncomfortable because I would feel that they are captured.
Do you think IPID has been infiltrated in any way by any individual or any organization?
As I think my response to that earlier question was that actually all law enforcement agencies are susceptible to infiltration. So IPD is not safe either.
Did you only receive the written response from General Sabia on the 4th of February? And why do you think there was a delay in the correspondence from General Sabia getting the documents and the instructions to you, considering his testimony that he perceived it as immediate disbandment, meant immediately? Why do you think it took him so long to start getting those documents to you, and then still left out documents like the letter from the minister and so forth?
My reading into General Sibia's instruction was that he actually spoke to General Khumalo in my absence when I was on leave. And
Must General Khumalo drop the ball, giving you the instructions late?
I don't think so.
You don't think which one? Do you think General Sabia misunderstood the instruction that it had to be so hastened, or do you think General Khumalo was at fault of not giving you the...
Let me say, I think neither. Because General Sibia, when he gave General Khumalo the instruction, it was specifically for him to give the dockets to me, but I was not engaged. So for me, it's neither.
Are there cartels in South Africa?
Cartel, I think, is a big word. You know,
What word would you use?
See, if you look at the history of your organized crime, so your mafia would be linked to families, ne? And your cartels, it's now when all the big bosses of the families of the mafia come together for a purpose, then it's called a cartel. I have not evidenced that in the investigation. Maybe there is, maybe we are missing it. But in your typical organized crime countries like your Mexico, your Colombia, your Brazil, those exist.
Are we getting there? Are we heading in that direction?
If we let things spiral out of control by not addressing organized crime, I think we can easily spiral into that direction.
And then the big five, what do you know about it? I mean, I'm sure it's either under investigation, but is there some sort of reality, and is there some prima facie evidence to...
when you conduct your organized crime investigation, you are bound by the trade to do your link analysis. And I think when the team did their link analysis and identified people who actually are part of that particular syndicate, I would say that it was not done lightly. It was done based on either documentary evidence or evidence from your digital space that actually links the individuals.
Were you part of that process?
I wasn't.
About how he went about the disbandment of the PKTT. Now, you state in paragraph 73 that the minister should not have unilaterally decided to disband the PKTT. And by your own account, you had one of the best working relationships with Minister Mchunu. Better than any other political principal, you say. Throughout your 27-year career, did you use this relationship to advise the minister that this process was wrong?
In response, Honorable Sauls, I want to say that in my clarification, that at the beginning of the process, I was not involved. And I think when I got involved, then there was those two briefings, the 5th and the 6th of March, 2025. Yeah, 2025. Sorry, I'm getting the dates wrong now. And General Mkhwanazi was in one of those meetings. So in my understanding, process is followed because General Mkhwanazi is in the know, until I realized later that actually he wasn't. But I think at that time, it was too far in the process to even engage. Minister Mchunu never engaged with me on the PKTT matters except for the other projects. So in that regard as well, I don't think we ever discussed it. Even if post General Mkhwanazi's discussion with me, I were to advise him to say, but the manner in which it happened actually has caused the organization problems. It would have been after the fact.
Okay. Tell me, how do you feel about the fact that you, such a high-ranking officer with so much skill, and how do you feel about the fact that a person who the most training he got in intelligence was an after-school youth empowerment program, and the biggest experience he has is as a tavern owner, Mr. Brown Mokhotsi? How do you feel about the fact that he knew before you?
Sitting in this chair, I think I'll be lying to say any other than it was surprising, any answer than that it was surprising. But also, if what he says is true, then definitely we have a big problem within the organization. I spoke about compartmentalization. I spoke about what regulates, even us internally discussing cases. In some of the cases that I would deal with, you'll find that one of the generals probably is a suspect. That's why we then don't discuss those things. But if these things are actually available to the outsiders, it is a cause for concern.